second. Recording. I should have been recording that whole thing. Oops. Here we go.
איה החמור אשר בדרך.
Sorry, just a second. 20.
גיבור.
Right.
The right one.
Board. Warrior.
הלך.
Halach.
Wait, what's the difference between 1 and 2? Oh,
Uh-huh.
sorry, it's the same one, right?
Yeah, this is a hard one because we're showing an action, and so yeah, it's just the left side versus the right side.
Okay, gotcha. Yeah, left.
The left. Yeah.
Halach.
הלכה.
The right.
Right. Halcha. So this is to go. She in the present tense is going.
בא.
The left.
Ba. So what would the right one be?
Ba'a.
Ba. So ba, masculine, coming in the present tense, and then feminine present tense, ba.
באה.
Right.
האיש הלך.
The
Right.
right.
הילדה באה.
The left.
בית הלכה.
Left.
אברהם בא.
The right one.
הגמל הלך במדבר.
Right.
הגיבור בא בדרך.
Right.
האישה באה על שפת הים.
The right.
האישה הלכה בדרך.
All right, so that was a lot easier than the lesson, right?
Yeah.
That lesson is quite a wild one. Number 17, where we first start getting our possessive pronouns, and then this one. These are some really tricky concepts, but also how we're kind of structuring our setup now is that on any given week, we're going to be kindergarten in one area and we're going to be toddlers in another area. So kindergarten is going to be lesson 21 this week, and then toddler or sorry, I said it wrong. So baby is going to be lesson 21, and then the toddler or kindergarten stage is going to be lesson 1. And I'm trying to get both the online group and the in-person group on the same week so that we don't have so much overlap and craziness. And so anyway, that's going to be, even though we've kind of done it for a couple of weeks, that's going to be the homework for this week. Do 21 and lesson 1 together there. So let's go review lesson 21 with the grammar lesson part. All right, so with our grammar lessons, scrolling down to lesson 1 here.
Can you also remind me what L means?
L, yes. So
Thinking of all these
yeah,
words I've
it kind of
forgotten.
appears in a few different ways.
I-
And it's spelled differently and everything. But like L is these in a plural sense. And let me see. What other
So it's a form, it's the same like root word as L.
Yeah. Yeah, so like these, that kind of a thing has its root in it, but As far as
It was on the reading. The can't remember what it's called. The like numbers something or other that you had.
like the Torah portion this week.
The Torah, yeah. Anyways, I just see it and I'm like, oh, I don't remember.
Uh-huh. Yeah. So it's kind of possibly in that context, it could be like a shortened form of deity. So we've got Eloah, and then we've got Elohim. So
It looked like it was kind of like used like as a prefix.
oh, okay. Yeah, so in that case, then we're going to be talking about yeah, like some these, that kind of conjugations there. It all
Okay.
kind of depends how it's spelled and things. Sure. And then Stacy asks in the chat, is it 2? It could be. I haven't, that doesn't ring a bell, but it's not saying that it's not, because I'm learning right along with you guys. I haven't got to that part of it yet. Yeah. All right. So for grammar for lesson 1, in biblical Hebrew, there's no question mark. And so we got to memorize those interrogative pronouns. So the what and the where is what's introduced here. So isn't that interesting? In lesson 21, right? We get a different version of ma.
Yeah.
So here we have ma with a patach and a kamatz. And now we're seeing that if ma is in front of a couple other consonants, that it can also be meh. But it all means what? But for the intent of this grammar portion, we're just going to consider ma. Ma is what, and aye is where. And so as we scroll down, we're going to be taking these phrases here, and we're going to be wanting to memorize these enough so that we can sight read them. So anytime that you see this, you're gonna immediately know that that's zot and that it means this in the singular feminine. Zot isha. Ma zot, what is this? And you're talking about a singular feminine, zot. Ze ish, again, that ze, we're going to want to recognize it instantly, know that that means this. Ish, ma ze. So, if we do know the thing that we're pointing at, if we do know its gender, we're going to use it properly. But if we don't know the gender, then we're just going to default to the masculine. So maze could mean both masculine and feminine. But if we do know that something is a feminine gender, like a para, then we're going to say zot, mazot in that case. So in this definite article, sometimes we have to like learn English in order to learn Hebrew. Before we dove into these, I didn't even know what the heck an article even was. I'm not much of an English person, but so it just means the article the. So if you've learned like Spanish, we know that the article the can change a few different ways. It could be el, la, los, las. So it's either masculine or feminine, and singular or plural. But here in this Hebrew, the definite article is ha, and it can either have a kamatz or a patach, depending on its usage, which we'll learn later. But there is no indefinite article. We don't have a or an. Instead, an indefinite noun will just have no article. So ish actually would translate with an indefinite article into English. So ish, we're meaning a man. It's indefinite. But ha'ish, we're talking about a definite person, the man. If we wanted to get even more specific, we're going to use demonstratives like this man. So the definite article occurs on nouns and also on any adjectives and those demonstratives that modify them. So if we're talking about a color or a size or any sort of thing that modifies a specific noun, it also has to have the ha in front of it so that we know that they all tie together. So, with that, like how would we say the small horse? The small horse.
Asus hakaton.
Asus hakaton. So, how would we say a small horse?
Suskaton.
Sus katon. So it's either kind of in this case right here, it's all or nothing. So both words would have it the ha in front of it, or both of them would leave it off. So hasus hakaton or sus katon. Yep, and that's in its most basic form there, but we'll start seeing where 3 or 4 different words might all have to have that ha in front of it. And so here we've got hapar hagadol. So we're talking about a specific big bull. Hapar hazeh, this bull. And so now as we dive in and get some adjectives going along with that, knowing that they have to agree both in plurality as well as in gender. So let's take a look at this chart here. So this is where it gets a little crazy. It looks like a lot of craziness in this chart, but it actually makes sense once we start getting practice with it, right? So if we wanted to say this small woman, so we're talking about a very specific woman. It's not just a general woman, but this one, and she's small. So we notice that the article is on all 3 words. Ha'isha, hakatana, hazeh. So interesting that zot, hazot. That hazot comes at the end. This order starts becoming important. So the demonstratives are the last thing in the series of words there. So if we wanted to say this is the small woman, so we see that the refers to the woman, but this does not directly modify the woman. We're just using it in a sentence. And so zot is left out and it doesn't have the ha in front of it. It doesn't have to agree in gender. So we have ha'ish hakatana is the small woman, and then zot is just part of the sentence prior to it. So this is the small woman. Does that kind of make sense? That's kind of a difficult principle for us, but and then here we see a third example where small does not directly modify the woman. It's part of the sentence, but we are talking about this woman. So this directly modifies woman, but small does not. So small, the size, does not carry the article in front of it. But ha'isha hazot does have the article in front of both of them. Ha'isha hazot katana. So these would be very different sentences based on where we're putting that article. And it modifies where in the sentence demonstrative comes. So I've got flashcards on all of the different possible options for these. If we go over to Quizlet and this, did I put that in the homework this week? If not, I need to put that in there. But let me get to our Hebrew sets. So lesson 1 combinations. Oh, that one's not the right one. This is lesson 1 grammar. All right, so lesson 1 grammar is the flashcard set that I would pick up and just get it until you've got it mastered, because this is a really important part of sentence structure, you know, kind of like Jack and Jill type easy sentences, because we're going to get complex before we know it, as we see with our lessons ahead of us, right? But let's get some practice with some of these. So if we were saying the bull is small, which words directly modify the noun?
The
The bull, small does not directly modify it. So small comes afterwards. It I'm not the greatest like English teacher, but
eh,
it comes after, right? So the bull is going to have the ha on it, but small is not. So this one would be hapar katon. Hapar katon. So the big woman. So which ones directly modify the noun?
the and big.
The and big both are directly attached to the noun. So all of the parts will have ha in front of it. Haisha hagadola. Right, small man. So we don't have any article in this one. We don't see the word the, but we do have an adjective that directly modifies. So ish katon. All right, the small goat. So both of these directly attached to the noun. So we're going to have the article on both words. Harez hakatana. Big donkey. How would we say this one?
Amor gadol.
Amor gadol. The small cow.
Go ahead.
Mm-hmm. Hapara hakatana. Hapara hakatana. All right, here's the one that changes. So we've got that is in here. So we know that small detaches from the goat. And so we're talking about the goat. So how would we say this one?
Harez katana.
Ha'ez katana. Ha'ez katana. All right, and this one? Gadola. And so you have that at the end of adjective. Yep. Hapara hapara gadola. All right, small sheep. So we don't have articles, but the adjective does directly modify that noun. Geveskaton. Okay. All right, so that lesson 1 grammar beginner flashcard set, I'll put both of these on there, but let's go look at the other one because the other one gets a little bit when you're ready to level up. So we've got the grammar beginner and then the other grammar. You can see that this one has 48 flashcards and this one has 96 in it. So this one throws in a couple more things for us. And if at any point you want to switch it so that Hebrew comes on the front of the card versus the back of the card, you can always come down to the cog for the settings. And then the answer with, you would change the language here. So I'm going to do that for this one. There we go. Okay, so this one is going to have 3 words. This man is big. So which pieces directly modify the noun?
This.
This directly modifies, but big is separate. So how would we say this man just by itself?
Ish haze.
Ha'ish hazeh. So zeh means this, but it has to have that ha in front of it, right? Ha'ish hazeh gadol. So we're separating that big out and it doesn't get the ha in front of it. Ha'ish hazeh gadol. This one looks intimidating. So which pieces directly modify the noun?
The small.
So the small force here, and then this is going to be separated. So how do we say this in the singular masculine? They. So we're going to start off our sentence with they, and then we're going to use this one with its modifications. So they hasus hakaton. They, this, hasus hakaton. So if this comes at the beginning of the sentence and it's separated, it's not going to have that ha in front of it, but then we can conjugate this in its proper way. Hasus hakaton.
I just unmuted me. So you have to use the ha with both parts of it in the previous. Okay.
Yep, and then this one follows that same pattern. So this doesn't directly modify, so it'll be separate and it doesn't have a ha, but here the adjective directly modifies and the noun will carry it for sure. And so the small will have the ha and the donkey will have the ha. So ze ha-hamor hakaton. Ze hamor ha. Ze ha-hamor hakaton. It's a mouthful. Ze ha-hamor hakaton. All right, this one flips it just a little bit. So small is separated from the noun. And so we're going to put it at the end. And so just for now, let's worry about the goat. Ha-is katana. Ha-is katana. Ha-is katana. All right, this one should be a fairly simple one. So the small man, nothing separated from each other. Everything directly modifies that noun. So ha-ish hakaton. Ish hakaton. Ish hakaton. All right, and what's the pattern for this one? So how would we say this goat is small?
Haaretz hazot katana.
Yes. So ha'ez hazot. So this goat, katana. So we're separating it out. Ha'ez hazot katana. All right, this big goat. So everything directly modifies. How could we, or how are we going to say that?
Haaretz hagadola hazot.
So, which is interesting because it's just reverse of what English is, right? So this part comes at the end of the Hebrew one. So ha'ez hakatana or hagadola hazot. Ha'ez hagadola hazot. So that one is a little intense. So if this one's too intense for you, make sure to go back to the beginner one. And don't worry if everything is just hitting your head against a brick wall. We're just trying to get introduced to it. If you're ready to move on, feel free to. If you need to stay with the beginner grammar set, that's totally fine. It's all about getting our feet wet with these different principles and everything there. So how was reading the lesson script with lesson 1? Was that beneficial? Did you like doing that? And did you like, or did you end up reading the lesson script when you watched lesson 21? I seen a few people had messaged me and said, can we please use the lesson script on 21? And I'm like, well, yeah, of course, you know how to read now. So feel free to use it whenever. The only thing that I wouldn't necessarily suggest, unless you're wanting it, if you're ready for it, is reading the grammar script along with lesson 21, because that's going to be some more advanced grammar that we might not have all of our feet wet in these early ones. But you definitely could read the lesson script along with those, because I think it's good to be sight reading and doing all of that. But yeah, so where is my spreadsheet? Because this is what my new game plan is for this class. Let me pull that up really quick. Okay, so each time in class, this is what I'm hoping to kind of go through. So we'll spend kind of 10 minutes on the new material that we just learned this week for the very first time, so like lesson 21. And then we'll take kind of a bulk of the class and really go through the grammar portion and try practicing that together of the lesson that we go back to. And then we'll spend a little bit of time, 10 minutes or so, talking about the portion or a chapter of the Feasts book. So this feast book is from Linda Cherry, Feasts and Festivals of the Messiah. Let me pull up. So this book right here, I'm going to, copy the text for us just chapter by chapter as we go in. But if you want the book, I highly recommend it. The chapters are like usually about 2 pages long. They're just very short chapters. But so we're going to be, taking our sweet time with it. So it's not trying to be a lot of extra homework on top of what we were already doing. But this book is really fascinating to start learning more about the different feasts. And then this is the Seder script that we ended up doing. So it kind of looks the same, but this Passover Seder script is just like a little pamphlet, tiny little thing compared to the book that explains a lot more in depth about each of the different feasts. So that will be this little portion of our time together. And then the Torah portion each week. So if you're not familiar with Torah portions, is that it's kind of like the Come Follow Me program that we have in this church, that all around the world, the different rabbis and governing bodies of Judaism have all kind of come together and said, hey, we need to be on the same kind of schedule. And so every single week on Friday, on their Sabbath day, they are going to switch and do a new Torah portion. So every year, they cover the entire 5 books of Moses. That's their Torah portion. So to say that they understand Torah a lot better than we do is an understatement. And so I think it would be really nice for us to kind of get a little bit caught up in that. So, for example, Naso was last week's. Currently, we are in Behalotcha, or sorry, Behalotcha, which is numbers, 8 through 12, I believe. So it's just a little portion of Come Follow Me. And as we do look into those, let me get my classroom up. So I've got 4 different links that are all handy references. By all means, if you want to study all of them, but who has the time for that with Come Follow Me and all the other things that we're doing. But if you wanted to study Chabad, that's kind of the first go-to place. But Aish, Sefaria, Torah.org, they're all really great resources on the Torah portions. Chabad is the one that I have liked using a lot because as you come to these different links on the side, there's different videos and Parsha studies. Sometimes there's little quizzes that go along with them. There's things for kids, etc. So, check it out and see what you like and what you don't like. But all of these 4 websites are going to give you lots of great resources and jumping off points if you'd like to study that. So we won't do it today, but in the following weeks, we'll take, just a few minutes in class to just kind of talk about the Torah portion. And we'll actually do a word study in class together where we're just going to take one word from either our vocab or grammar or maybe the Torah portion even, and we're just going to look at how we can start looking that word up in lexicons and dictionaries and commentaries, etc., and try to get our feet wet in how to study the Hebrew meanings of words. And start defining them with other Hebrew words, etc. So anyway, that's kind of my plan for the actual time in class. If you wanted to mirror your own study kind of in that same thing so that you're studying all 5 things, you're more than welcome to, whatever works best for your schedule. But this is kind of how we'll try to focus our in-person time, if that makes sense.
So I found the Bible Hub and downloaded that, but what you just showed us, that's on your Learning Zion site,
No, that's on the Google Classroom.
the
Yeah.
Google Classroom.
Yep. So or are you talking about this little chart right here?
Yeah. Well,
Oh.
I'm talking about the Torah portion.
Oh, yeah. So on the classroom, here for week 18,
Okay.
I've got that Torah portion, which is here, and it has those 4 different links.
Oh, okay. Thank you.
And then the feasts book, I will have a Google Doc for each chapter as we learn those. And then where is my other? Oh, I've got it in the in-person group, but not in the other one. But also the sight reading things. So I'll put these in here just right now, but I really like these sight reading websites. So Haktuvim, that I've shown before where you can play the audio along with it. A second, my screen is like so big. There we go. So it has Genesis 1 here. You can choose any book that you would like to read along with, and you can play the audio of it up here. You can choose the speed of the audio. You can take the music out if you'd like, but as you do play it,
בראשית. בראשית, פרק א'. בראשית ברא אלוהים את השמיים ואת הארץ, והארץ הייתה.
so that's a really interesting resource to start kind of practicing your sight reading and then playing the audio and see if you're pronouncing it right, kind of a thing. But if you click on any of the words, it'll pop up with the definition down below, as well as, so that's Haktavim. This other one that I've got here that I just discovered this last weekend is Marble. And if you click on it, takes a second, you can see the Hebrew on the left and the English on the right. And as you hover over a word, it'll tell you what it's translated as. I forget which translation of the Bible they're using for this one, but anyway, it kind of helps with that a little bit. If you actually click on the word, then it'll actually define it over here and give you the number for the Strongs.
Does that little note say it by chance?
So like speak it, like the audio of
Yeah.
it.
Sure.
I don't know if it does. Just a second. I know you can have the entire thing read to you. I don't know if it'll just pull out that one word though. So like this little music note icon.
Oh.
חמישה חומשי תורה, ספר בראשית, פרשת בראשית. בראשית ברא אלוהים את השמיים ואת הארץ.
So yeah, that one's just a rabbi talking it, but I don't think that it actually has just
Yeah,
a
per
single.
word. That makes sense.
But if you do click on any of these, it'll navigate over to our dictionary. So you can come over here and see a lot of the different times that it's used. So this is very similar to like Bible Hub,
Yeah, that's cool.
where Bible Hub's where I spend almost all my time. But I just found this website this last week and I thought it was really interesting too. So,
Yeah.
but yeah, Elohim, heavenly beings, plural, something that we don't get in some of our English translations.
Yeah.
But yeah, so I will put this sight reading thing, going to reuse that over in our virtual Hebrew group so that we have it as well. All right, so it'll be pinned up at the top. So there's the sight reading one, and then each week with a different Torah portion, we'll be swapping between different ones, but they'll all have the same 4 links that'll go right to them. But yeah, any questions or navigation things? Sometimes that's a lot of information right at one time, but anyway. Yeah, lots of fun resources and things. Isn't it interesting how now as we're kind of going back, if we take a look at the baby or the kindergarten version of what we had learned in lesson 1 and 2 and stuff, that stuff's really easy. And now we're kind of advancing to that grammar and starting to understand it. But it's amazing how, you know, some of those early lessons that we were like, oh my gosh, this is so hard, is now, oh, that's really easy actually. I don't understand the grammar behind it, but I get the words now. I can read them a little bit. So every time that you go through it, it makes it that much easier. It's kind of fun to get on this new track here. But
I really like this, like what you're doing and laying it out. It's been super helpful, like to go back and like read through the grammar of the earlier lessons and just that. I can't believe how helpful that is.
yeah, and to review it often. So I'm working on worksheets, but I don't have them quite yet. Who knows if I'll
That's-
have time to do
Yeah,
them.
that's nice too. I'm trying to be better too at like just those, yeah, like practicing just writing whatever, like just
Mhm.
vocab words and other stuff. But anyways, it's just really helpful to go back.
Mhm.
And I still forget things, obviously. Like the most simple words. I'm like, oh, what is
Uh-huh. Happens all the time. And then I'll catch myself in English and I'm like, man, I do the exact same thing in English too. Like I have hard times with words sometimes. So it just
Yeah. Yes.
but yeah. All right. Well, my homework, I'll look up the word L and find all of its uses, but I gotta do my due diligence on that one.
How do you do that? Just sorry, don't want to take a ton of time, but like I can see why like having the Hebrew on your keyboard and stuff is helpful for that. So there's times like I'm like, how do I look it up without being able to type it in Hebrew? But
Oh yeah.
anyways, so yeah, it's probably a good reason to do the whole Hebrew thing.
Uh-huh. Yeah, for sure. So like I developed that Hebrew keyboard
Yeah.
install. I'll put a link to that in our thing as well because I find that that's very helpful. With one of those sites, just a second. I think it's the Marble one.
Oh, Google Translate. Yeah, that's a good idea.
Oh yeah. Oh yeah. So one thing with Google Translate it's really great for Spanish, but it's kind of interesting for Hebrew sometimes. But if you come over to this Marble one, sorry, let me get to the classroom. So in the classroom, this sight reading link here, and click on the Marble. In the Marble, when you look in the dictionary, it'll automatically pop up with an on-screen keyboard so that you can start typing in some
Oh,
different
that's
words.
super cool.
Yeah, so I found that very helpful. But then I will also put a link in the classroom for my Hebrew keyboard that I created so that you could type out, because with like mine, it has like the vowel pointing and things like that that you can use because I'm using it all the time to check words and sometimes when you write the English transliteration of a word, it may get it pretty good, but sometimes it's a little bit off here and there. But yeah, and I'll try to sprinkle that in our coming weeks so it's not just all at once. But yeah. All right. Any other questions before we head out?
I
All
think
right.
I got all my questions in, so thank you.
Yep. All right. Have a great week, everyone. We'll see you.
Thank you. See ya.